Virgo, welcome to your February 2025 monthly horoscope. My name is Adeana. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this video, I will be walking you through all of the major themes, topics, and events you will be navigating for the month of February. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. So, let's first start by going over the major transits for the month. So, as soon as we come into the month, February 1st, we have Venus forming a conjunction to Neptune at 27 degrees 59 minutes. And then a few hours later on the 1st, Venus is going to form a conjunction to the North Node. This is all taking place in Pisces. And the conjunction to the North Node will be at 28 degrees 9 minutes. So you'll get a better idea once we get into the charts because you'll be able to kind of get the visual. Also, for those of you who are new to my monthly horoscopes, because I haven't posted them in a while, I break my monthly horoscopes down by week and I select a chart for each week to give you a bit of a visual. Now, February 3rd, we will have Mercury in Aquarius forming a trine to Jupiter retrograde in Gemini at 11 degrees. February 4th, we will have Venus entering Aries and also Jupiter stationing direct in Taurus. This actually takes place about an hour apart, roughly. February 6th, we have our North Node Neptune conjunction in Pisces at 28 degrees. February 9th, we have our Mercury Cazimi, and that is when Mercury and the Sun form a conjunction, and this is going to take place at 21 degrees of Aquarius. Also on February 9th, we have Mars retrograde in Cancer, forming a trine to Saturn in Pisces at 18 degrees. February 11th, we have Mercury and Aquarius forming a square to Uranus and Taurus at 23 degrees. And on the 12th of February, we have our full moon in Leo at 24 degrees. Now, I will not spend too much time on the lunations because I do post separate forecasts for all the new moon and full moons, where I get into the chart for the lunation. I also get into all 12 rising signs. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about um, the full moons and the new moons. But I'll give you kind of a general representation of where it is and what themes, topics, and energy it can activate for you. February 14th, we have Mercury entering Pisces. February 18th, we have the Sun entering Pisces. And February 23rd, we have Mars stationing direct in Cancer at 17 degrees. So Mars has been retrograde since December 6th. We've actually been in this Mars retrograde energy since October 5th. That is when Mars entered pre-shadow. So, whatever Mars has been shaking up for you, whatever themes, topics, events, energy, really since October 5th, there's going to start to be more revelations, more understandings, more resolutions, conclusions to whatever Mars has stirred up for you. Now, February 25th, we will have Mercury forming a conjunction to Saturn in Pisces at 20 degrees. And February 27th, we will have our new moon in Pisces at 9 degrees. And where this is not going to be an eclipse, I believe it's still going to hold a lot of power and activate energy, themes, topics, and events that can come in to play out over the next 18 months with the nodes being in Pisces and Virgo. So, for those of you who have not checked out my lunar nodes in my lunar node forecast with the North Node being in Pisces, South Node being in Virgo, I'm going to link it up here in this video and also at the end. Make sure you check that out. I get into what the lunar nodes are, what being in Pisces and Virgo can bring, being in this axis can bring, and also I get into all 12 rising signs pretty in depth. So make sure you check that out. So let's get into the first week. February 1st, we've got that Venus Neptune conjunction and then Venus North Node conjunction. The Venus Neptune conjunction is 27 degrees 59 minutes, which I find really interesting. It's like right before Neptune shifts to 28 degrees. Venus comes along and forms a conjunction to Neptune. And then Venus will form a conjunction to the North Node. So you have the nodes transiting your first house and your seventh house. So you have, over the next 18 months, because the nodes are going to be in Pisces and Virgo from January 2025 to July 2026. So over the next 18 months, year and a half or so, you will have, and it's even a little bit longer than that because we tend to have our final eclipse a couple months after the nodes exit those signs. But the nodes take about 18 months to transit the signs. So that's why we say 18-month story and journey and whatever. But the North Node being in your seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections can be bringing somebody new, somebody fated, somebody karmic into your life. There could be some type of new journey in this area of life as well. This has to do with how you connect to people. This is because it's not just like love relationships, it's all your one on one partnerships, business partnerships, one on one connections, all those close one on one connections that you have that are in your life are represented in that seventh house. And the North Node represents something new, a new direction, a new journey. It can feel very unknown as well. The South Node, which is transiting your first house of you. This is you, your character, your personality, your physical body, your perception of reality, how others perceive you. The mask you kind of wear to the world. And everything kind of that has to do with you is in that first house. And if you have any other planets in the first house, that's going to add to the energy. But you want to also note where your ascendant and descendant is, because as the nodes get closer to those degree points, more events and more energy can become more intense. Things can become a lot more personal. So you definitely want to note that. But having this South Node in the first house can have you changing how you present yourself to the world, how you want to be perceived. There's a part of you you're releasing and you're letting go of. There's a part of you that you're completely done with. And it can have to do with, a lot of Virgo rising. I'm Virgo rising, so I can relate. But a lot of how we connect to other people, how we connect within our relationships, where we can sometimes maybe let things slide or have rose-colored glasses because we so when Venus forms a conjunction to Neptune and a conjunction to the North Node, you want to pay attention to what is presented at this time. Somebody new may show up in your life, or there can be something very significant within a current partnership. Um, Neptune tends to blur boundaries, can make things confusing. Neptune also rules like escapism. Well, Pisces and Neptune both kind of rule escapism through like toxic behavior, substance abuse, toxic relationships. These are things we really want to be aware of through this energy too. And a lot of this, for those who do struggle in this area, a lot of those themes, topics, and events may be presented so that you can become aware of them and release them. Because part of this, the nodes being in the first and seventh house too, is ending karmic patterns within relationships, ending karmic cycles. So a lot of that can be triggered and activated, especially the month of February with all the Pisces activations, around toxic patterns or karmic patterns, cycles, because they need to be released and let go of. So you definitely want to um, pay attention to kind of what is showing up in this area of life, especially around relationships. Venus also rules your second house of money, finances, material possessions, personal values. So there can be, and I also want to note too that Venus is going to station retrograde March 1st. So the entire month of February, we want to pay attention to what Venus brings in for us, because we will be revisiting and reassessing those themes and topics and addressing those energies and events for the next few months. And Venus rules your second house of money, finances, and material possessions, and also your ninth house of higher education, long distance travel, your belief systems, um, teaching, publishing is in the ninth house, even legal issues and justice. Like legal issues are in the ninth house, can be presented in the ninth house as well. But your belief systems, religion, philosophy, that is all in the ninth house. Astrology is in the ninth house. So Venus rules, the ninth house and the second house. So the Venus retrograde period, you can be rethinking, those areas of life, but also be rethinking relationships, the seventh house themes and topics, and eighth house because Venus is stationing retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries and moving back to Pisces, which is your seventh house. And I'll be posting a Venus retrograde forecast getting into all 12 signs where I'll go deeper into this energy. But you just want to pay attention to what is presented the month of February, because that's going to give you an idea of the major themes, topics, and events you'll be reassessing and navigating the next few months. February 3rd, Mercury in Aquarius will trine Jupiter retrograde in Gemini at 11 degrees. Now, Mercury is your chart ruler, and Mercury is also the ruler of the South Node now. So, Mercury transits become a little bit more significant and can bring in more to the story that is playing out in this area of life when it has to do with you and your perception, how you are presenting yourself to the world, and whatever parts of you are changing with the South Node transiting in the first house. So when Mercury in Aquarius forms a trine to Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, this is Jupiter is in your 10th house of career and public reputation, your public image. Also, authority figures and leadership is in the 10th house. There could be really beautiful, positive conversations about your career, because these are both your work houses. Your career is in the 10th, and the labor, the duties, the day-to-day work that you put into your career is in the 6th. So there can be definitely some really positive information or conversation around your career around February 3rd that you want to pay attention to and just be aware of. On February 4th, we have Venus entering Aries and Jupiter stationing direct. So, Jupiter is bringing in a lot of optimism in this area of life, also a lot of opportunities. This is energy you really want to utilize the next couple of months while you still have Jupiter in the 10th house of career. If there's anything you want to get going around your career, you definitely want to get it going now while we still have Jupiter in the 10th house. Now, Venus entering your eighth house. Your eighth house represents your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources, um, taxes, inheritance, joint investments. If you live in Canada, February does begin tax season, so it could be, focusing a little bit more on that. But the eighth house is also psychological healing and transformation. The occult, like occult themes and topics are represented in the eighth house as well. The eighth house also has an association with like death and rebirth. So physical death, but also just the representation of death, like transformation, the death and rebirth kind of energy. And also the eighth house represents intimacy, like intimacy within partnerships too, which could be a lot of this Venus retrograde energy, whether you're addressing intimacy within relationships, lack of reconnecting, or new connections, like that can be a thing. And then February 6th, we have the North Node Neptune conjunction in Pisces. And again, this can bring in more to the story and whatever is kind of playing out in this area of life when it has to do with relationships and one-on-one connections. So you want to kind of note some of these dates down so that you become a lot more aware of your surroundings and kind of what is showing up for you on these days, because it can give you an idea of some things that, like some major themes, topics, or events that will be playing out over the next 18 months. There could be energy in or something, a situation, experience, or a person coming in that's shifting your direction in some way. And it could seem very subtle now, but over the next, year and a half, really be like a big deal. So you just want to kind of keep a journal and make note of, some of these dates and kind of what shows up for you on those days. And I guarantee by the time we get to the end of next year and you look back at the story that's played out, you'll be shocked. You'll be surprised. But this has to do with relationships and one-on-one connections. And when we're talking about Neptune, we want to make sure that we're seeing things clearly. Neptune can blur lines and blur boundaries. We want to make sure that we are having healthy personal boundaries. That we're not escaping, that we're not seeing people with rose-colored glasses. We're seeing people for who they are, not who we want them to be. That's a big thing with this energy. Now, on February 9th, we will have our Mercury Cazimi, and that is when Mercury and the Sun form a conjunction. And this is going to take place at 21 degrees of Aquarius, which is in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine. So again, this is like your day-to-day duties at work, but this also represents your routine at home, your nutrition habits, your health habits, your workout routine. Your pets are also in the sixth house. Um, if you own a business, your employees are in the sixth house as well. And so, there those themes and topics and energies within the sixth house are all activated at the time of this Mercury Cazimi. So this is where you may have a really important conversation with someone. It's kind of like an aha moment. You could get some intuitive insight. This can have to do with your career. Mercury is your chart ruler. This can also have something to do with this nodal story playing out too. So another date that you want to jot down, a Mercury Cazimi is when we can have like an epiphany or some sudden insight. It's an Aquarius, so it could be something new, something different, something outside of the box that maybe you weren't planning or expecting, bringing in, information or a conversation, shifting your direction in some way that was very unexpected because it's that Aquarian kind of Uranian energy. Now, also on February 9th, we have Mars retrograde in Cancer forming a trine to Saturn in Pisces at 18 degrees. So Mars retrograde in Cancer is in your 11th house. This is energy we've all been navigating that's been a little challenging. Mars, doesn't do the greatest in Cancer already, and then Mars retrograde in Cancer, we can just feel energetically depleted, have a hard time with motivation, willpower, drive. Now, this is in your 11th house of friends and friendships, social groups, networking. So you may have been dealing with some conflict in this area of life. Um, Also, too, I just want to note Mars retrograde can bring rashes like to your physical body. That's like actually a thing. But also, too, the Mars retrograde in Cancer, I find just generally speaking, has brought up a lot of deep, kind of buried emotions, whether it's around old family dynamics, because Cancer rules, home, family, and also what is private, what is behind the scenes. And so, even though, yes, it's in your 11th house of friends and friendships and social groups and networking, just on a general kind of collective level, this can be surfacing, like having old emotions resurface so that you're having to address them and release and kind of move on. And that could have been activated back in January with the sextile between Mars retrograde and Uranus retrograde. I'm getting a little off topic, but I just wanted to make note of that. But Mars retrograde in the 11th house could be bringing up, issues or dynamics around friends and friendships, social groups. Also, Mars is the ruler of that eighth house of intimacy, psychological healing and transformation, your partner's finances, investments, loans, taxes, inheritance. And Mars is the co-ruler of your third house, of your mindset, communication, your thought processes, how you think, how you speak, how you write. Also, the third house rules vehicles. The third house also rules your siblings, your cousins, your community, your neighbors and neighborhood, your day-to-day travel, your local environment and local travel is all represented in the third house. So the Mars retrograde could be working with all those areas of life, essentially. Now, once we get to week 2, February 10th, we will have Mercury in Aquarius forming a square to Uranus and Taurus at 23 degrees. So, Mercury at this point is still going to be in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine, forming a square to Uranus. But this is where, because Mercury rules like your 10th house of career, public reputation, and is also, your chart ruler. This is where there can be like a sudden stop or a hold to something that you're trying to get going, possibly at work, possibly within your career, because it is still like your routine. Even if you're trying a new routine at home or a work routine, there could be like difficulties kind of getting that off the ground. This is where there is just like an unexpected stop or hold, whether it has to do with, you know, a conversation that you have or just something kind of unexpected around your daily routine thrown at you that you weren't expecting. But it's just a day that we want to kind of have that awareness. February 12th, we will have our full moon in Leo at 24 degrees. Now, again, I'm not going to spend too much time on the lunations, but this is in your 12th house of spirituality, karma, things, people, places that are hidden, hospitals, asylums, retreat centers, prisons, hidden relationships, karma, spirituality, the subconscious, self undoing, self sabotaging. What were you navigating at the time of the new moon in Leo? That can give you an idea of what will be presented at the time of this full moon in Leo. Again, I will be posting a separate forecast where we will go much deeper into this energy. But this is where those themes and topics can be highlighted. Now, February 14th, we will have Mercury entering Pisces here in your seventh house. And then February 18th, we have the sun entering Pisces. So as we approach, mid-February to end February, more energy comes into the seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections. February 23rd, we have Mars stationing direct at 17 degrees of Cancer. So this is going to be nice, where we're not completely done and clear of the Mars retrograde energy. Mars will now be direct because Mars has been retrograde since December 6th. So this Mars station can trigger something around eighth house themes and topics. Also, at this point, Mars will be dispositing that Venus energy. So there can be something around money and finances, something around your partner's money and finances that you might want to be mindful of and aware of. Something around intimacy, personal values. Um, and then, of course, friends and friendships. But I really feel like I intuitively feel like it's more around relationships and possibly your personal values. And it could be around money too and finances. Now, once we get to week 4, February 25th, we will have Mercury form a conjunction to Saturn in Pisces at 20 degrees. So this could be like a challenging conversation with a partner. This could even be a challenging conversation with a business partner or a colleague, something that has to do with your career because Mercury rules at 10th house of career. Mercury is also your chart ruler. You also want to note where you have your descendant and ascendant because you'll feel that more personally at that 20 degrees. We want to keep in mind like Mercury rules communication, information, messages, also how we think, how we express ourselves. Saturn can, depending on your own personal relationship with Saturn sometimes can bring in limitation, hardship, restriction. So this can be a conversation where your partner is just not understanding you or seeing kind of where you're coming from. But Saturn can also bring in, foundational energy. Saturn rules commitment, responsibility. So this can also be like it's really a mixed bag and is going to depend on your own personal birth chart and your own personal energy, how this is presented. It can go, one of two ways. It can be, challenging conversation and hardship and limitation, but it can also be a really solid conversation that takes you to the next level of a relationship that forms that foundation that you need because it is that Saturn energy. This could be a conversation about, forming a commitment with a partner. Or it's even just a conversation with somebody that doesn't seem significant now, but over the next year and a half becomes significant. So this is another one of those days where you want to write down, any conversations you have or anything that is kind of that shows up for you, on this day at this time. And then February 27th, we will have our new moon in Pisces at 9 degrees. And this is not going to be an eclipse. However, it's still going to be quite powerful and it's still going to bring in energy, themes, topics, and events for, the story that is playing out in this area of life when it has to do with this new journey that you are taking around relationships and one-on-one connections. So this is a great time to set intentions around partnerships. And you also want to pay attention to, what is brought up at this time. And again, I will post a forecast going into the new moon in Pisces chart and also alto rising signs, giving you a good idea of how this energy can show up for you at a later forecast. So I hope, Virgo, that this helps you navigate the energy for the month ahead. At least this kind of gives you an idea of major themes, topics, and events that you can be navigating. And just remember, Venus is pre-shadow. So we really want to be, and with all the North Node energy, we really want to be paying attention to what is showing up for us the entire month of February. If you can, write in your journal, make notes, whatever you do in your phone. But you want to pay attention to what is showing up for you because this can really give you an idea of bigger themes down the road. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. And also, if you would like to book a one-on-one consultation with me, I have put the link in the description below to my website. I offer a birth chart one-on-one consultation via Zoom, a solar return consultation, also a lunar return consultation. So the birth chart consultation, it's a one-on-one consultation via Zoom, and we dive deep into your birth chart. Plus, I cover your current transit, so you know all the current activations and everything kind of going on, in the now and in the near future. And then also the solar return consultation. It's a 90-minute consultation, and we analyze your solar return chart, which is where the sun comes back to the exact position it was at the time of your birth. We populate a chart for that time, compare it to your birth chart, and we also check out your new year chart. And that gives you a really good idea of major themes, topics, events, opportunities, and challenges for the next 12 months. I also offer a lunar return one-on-one consultation. It's an hour long, and um, we analyze your lunar return chart, which we populate the same way as a solar return. It's when the moon comes back to the exact position as your birth, and this happens each month. So we go over the next 90 days, the next 3 months, giving you a good idea of um, major themes, topics, and events you're navigating kind of now and in the near future. So make sure you check that link out if you are interested in a one-on-one consultation. And thank you all so much for joining me, and I will connect with you all in the next one.